But when we discuss theological question in a rational way, by rational methodology, then we are philosophizing. So philosophy and theology here overlap, it's the same. Messina's metaphysics includes also cosmology and angelology, and it also provides foundations for other sciences like physics and psychology. That's why he considers metaphysics as universal science, al-ilm al-kulli, or first philosophy, al-falsafatul ula, and the head of all sciences, because the subject matter of metaphysics is the most general concept that we can imagine, being. We don't have any concept like being in generality and universality. So in this way, he says that metaphysics is the head of all sciences and first science, first philosophy, and universal philosophy, al-ilm al-kulli, because it deals with wujud and being, huwa being. And it is the highest science because it talks about the most noble realities, like first principle. It also, as you can see in Kitab al-Shifa, toward the end of this book, Messina talks about prophethood and resurrection, miracles, all these theological questions he discusses, but not from theological methodology or referring to the religious text, but he discusses with the rational methodology. That's why it is part of his philosophy. And this is what makes difference between Ibn Sina and Aristotle. Aristotle never talks about prophethood or angels or resurrection, these kind of religious issues. These are new in Ibn Sina's philosophy. So this is again important in knowing the nature of metaphysics in Ibn Sina's philosophy and in the Islamic tradition in general. Ibn Sina goes so far that he says that the only science or the only discipline that can discuss about God, about the existence of God, can prove the existence of God is metaphysics. No other science can prove the existence of God. For example, in physics, as you know, Aristotle discusses about unmoved mover. He tries to argue for unmoved mover, but unmoved mover, according to Ibn Sina, is not the first uncaused principle, is not God. God is the creator of the world, not the mover. So in Ibn Sina's theology, God is the creator, the principle for being, not only the agent for movement. So in his view, the only science that can argue for the existence of God is metaphysics with rational argument. Unfortunately, we have problem with this, with this connection of internet.
But Agana Hosana is today is fine. Is fine? Is your
It
voice
is
is
good
fine?
today.
It's
It is
good.
good today. No problem yet.
Yeah, we don't have any problem.
Okay, here I see the sign of this connection.
No,
Sometimes.
it's fine here. It's good today.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah.
Okay, this was an introduction for introducing Ibn Sina's metaphysics, which deals with existence. And the same tradition is continue in all Islamic intellectual tradition throughout its long history. So the next topic or mas'ala in Ibn Sina is his discussion of being. What is being? What is wujud, which is the subject matter of metaphysics. Ibn Sina says that wujud or being is a self-evident concept. We don't need any definition in order to understand the meaning of existence. Everybody knows what existence means. It doesn't need any definition. Of course, we can use some words to clarify for someone who does not know the meaning of existence. For example, say that existence is equal with thing, shay, or what is realized, what is established in reality, what's in external world. But it doesn't need any definition. And in fact, it is impossible to define existence, because in any definition we use some terms that are more clear than the term that we want to know its definition. And there is no term that is more clear than existence. Existence is the most clear concept in our mind. We cannot define existence because in definition we use genus and differential. For example, when we want to define human being, we say human being is rational animal. Animal is genus and rational is differential. But there is no genus for existence. Genus and differential related to quiddity, to mahiyya, refers to essence of things, not to its existence. And there is no concept which is more general than existence in order to be its genus. For example, animal is, wider than human, but we don't have any concept more general than existence, so it cannot have any genus. It is the most universal and comprehensive concept. Whatever you imagine, it is under the concept of existence. Even, if it does not exist in external world, it's in our imagination. And even when we cannot imagine something, some abstract concept, we can think of it. For example, non-existent. Non-existent again exists, not in reality, but in our mind. We have the concept of non-existence. So whatever we can imagine or we can think of, it exists in our mind at least. So there is no concept that can be put outside of existence. Paradoxically, it includes its opposites, even something which is its contradiction. Non-existence is also existence. Non-existent is non-existent in reality, but exists in mind. So it has existence. Otherwise, we cannot have this term, we cannot conceive it, cannot imagine it. So this is the most general concept, the concept of existence. And because it is the most general concept, we cannot define it with other concepts. Therefore, Ibn Sina says that the concept of existence is a priori concept, has priority on all other concepts. Of course, he does not explain how we become familiar with the concept, with existence. He says the existence is self-evident, and we know what it means, but he doesn't explain why and how we know the meaning of existence. In later Islamic philosophy, it is explained that we know existence through intuition, not through definition or through sensory perception. We know it through a kind of knowledge by presence. When we have self-awareness, when we are aware of ourselves, we encounter with our existence. The first time that we experience existence, we encounter existence, is when we are aware of ourselves. So we see our existence. We have intuition. We have direct apprehension and feeling of our existence. So the reality of existence is known by presence, by knowledge, by presence, by intuition, not through definition or through, it's not a conceptual knowledge. After we become aware of our existence, then we make the concept of existence. Because always we take conception from experience, either from sensory experiences or from inner experiences. So the reality of existence is known by intuition, but the concept of existence is self-evident since we saw the real existence in ourselves. The next point about existence is that existence has one meaning, is a univocal concept. Here it refers to some theological discussions. Some theologian said that existence has different meanings. When we talk about the existence of God, it has a meaning which is different from existence when we relate it to creatures. We say God exists and the nature exists, but existence in these two examples have different meanings because God is completely different from nature. They are entirely different from one another. So the concept of existence is not the one concept, does not have one meaning in both cases. It is one word, but with different meanings. Here, philosophers like Messina reject this analysis and they say no. Existence has one meaning in both cases. When we say God exists, it has the same meaning that we say the world exists. And the opposite of existence is non-existence. Non-existence is one meaning. So its opposite has also one meaning. The difference is not in the meaning. The difference has its root in reality. The reality of God is different from reality of nature or human being. But the meaning of existence in both cases is one. But again, existence is a special kind of concept. It is different from human being. When we say human being or when we say al-insan, it is equally referred to all its individuals. All people are human. One of them is not more human than the others. They all are equal in being human. All apples are equal in being apple. So here, the concept of apple or the concept of human has one meaning which equally refer to all its individuals and instances. But existence is different. All existence are not equal there with regard to existence. Some existence has priority, some has posteriority. God exists before human being. His existence has priority over human existence or nature existence. So the existence is not equal with regard to God and the world. It's different. There is an ambiguity. in this predication. Sometimes they say existence has a kind of arrangement or degrees or gradation that we have in Mullah Sadra's philosophy. That tashkik al-wujud. Wujud is a gradational concept. So, or for example, in Aquinas, he uses analogy, the concept of analogy, in order to explain the unity of meaning and difference, both unity and difference in meanings and attributes that we relate to God and human being. So existence has one meaning, but a kind of meaning which has ambiguity in itself, which has different degrees, which has a kind of gradation, and it is not a meaning that is equal in its predication to its instances and individuals. Wajib al-wujud, or necessary being, is different from contingent being. It has priority over contingent being. So being and existence in necessary being is more intensive and perfect than in contingent being. So it is a special concept, like light. We have different degrees of light. Light of sun and light of candle are both light, but in different degrees in intensity, in priority and posteriority, and in different aspects they are different, but at the same time that they are one in reality. They both are light. So the existence of cause has priority over the existence of effect. And here we have degrees of existence. The next point about existence, which is very important in Ibn Sina's metaphysics, is distinction between existence and essence. This is one of fundamental issues in Ibn Sina's ontology and in Islamic philosophy in general. There is a difference between essence and existence. When we encounter with a new concept, we ask two different types of questions. Question with regard to its nature and essence, and question with regard to its existence. For example, we ask, what is angel, for example? Here, or in Arabic, they say, ma huwa malak, ma huwa. And this is the root for the word mahiya or mahiya. What is that? What is the angel? Here we are seeking to know the nature and essence of angel or human being or anything. Here the answer will be definition. If we ask what is human being, the answer will be its definition. So a human being is rational animal. Here they say al-mahiyya mufadul had. Essence or quiddity is the outcome of definition. When you define something logically, you provide its essence. You introduce its essence. But when there is another question about existence. We ask whether angel exists or not. Here, we don't want definition. We want to know the existence, and the way to know the existence is demonstration, syllogism, argument. Say al-wujud mufadul burhan, al-mahiyya mufadul had, al-wujud mufadul burhan. Existence is the outcome of demonstration. And for example, we want to know whether human soul exists or not, we need demonstration. So we have two questions. What is soul? Here the answer is mahiyya, quiddity. Whether soul exists, here the answer is existence, which must be established by argument, by demonstration, by burhan. The same, similarly in God, when we say what is God, we define God. God is, the infinite, omnipotent creator of the world. Then the question is whether God exists or not. Here we need argument, demonstration, or burhan. And logic has these two parts. Part of logic gives us definition, how to define things. And another part of logic teaches how to demonstrate and argue to prove something. So existence and essence, whatness and thatness are different. Their concepts are different. And analytically they are different. In reality, we don't have two realities. One part existent, the other part essence. They are one in reality. Essence of a human being is not separate from his existence in reality, in external world. They both refer to the same thing. But in mental analysis, existence is different from essence. Another point is that this distinction is only in contingent being, in possible being, in creatures. But necessary being, on cause principle, wajibul wujud, does not have quiddity, does not have mahiyya. His essence and existence are one and the same. God's essence is not something different from his existence. His essence is his existence, and his existence is his essence. Al-haqqu mahiyyatuhu inniyatuhu. The truth, his essence is his existence. But in contingent being, Mahiyya is separate from existence. God is pure existence. God is not something that exists. God is. God is. God is equal to existence. But human being, for example, humanity, in its meaning, there is no existence. Human can exist and he can be non-existent. Can be existent, can be non-existent. A bird may exist or not exist. If its cause is there, then it exists. If its cause is not there, it does not exist. So existence of contingent being depend on their cause. Is a relative existence, not absolute existence. Their essence does not require or imply their existence. It only depends to external cause. They exist due to their cause, by virtue of their cause. Regardless of their cause, they are non-existent. But we cannot say this about God. By definition, by God we mean a reality whose existence is necessary. It means that you cannot imagine God without existence. If you imagine God without existence, then it will not be God. It's something else. God is what? Its essence is existence. But with regard to possible being, with regard to contingent being, here we have this distinction and this composition. Any contingent being is composed of essence and existence. كل ممكن زوج تركيبي من ماهية ووجود. Any possible being is something that is composed of existence and essence. We have this duality, this composition in any contingent being. But God is simple, the most simple reality that we can imagine. So it doesn't have any external part, and it doesn't have composition of existence and essence. Any kind of composition must be negated with regard to necessary being. And so this distinction between essence and existence is the foundation for an argument for the existence of God. Later, inshallah, we will discuss about arguments for the existence of God. Here, Ibn Sina has his own argument. One of the foundation and premises for that argument is distinction between essence and existence, and the fact that contingent being is composed of existence and essence, and since its existence is not the same as its essence, So it must have a cause, a creator, someone bring it into existence, a mujid, an agent that bring it from non-existent into existence. So this is what I thought that we should know about Ibn Sina's definition of metaphysics and its subject matter, which is being and existence. So if our friends have any comment or question, we can discuss now or later after break. My presentation is finished here for this evening. Thank you.
Do we need a break, Agha? Or can we just continue and finish it early?
It's up to you. I am ready for.
Okay, I have 3 questions.
Okay.
But I see someone has raised their hand. They can go ahead first.
No, it's okay. You can continue, please.
Okay. So my first question was, did Ibn Sina believe in Asalatul Wujud or Asalatul Mahiya?
Yes, you may know that in Ibn Sina's time and Ibn Sina's work, we don't have this discussion explicitly, and we don't have these terms, Asalatul Wujud and Asalatul Mahiya. This discussion explicitly is, in Mullah Sadra's philosophy. Before Mullah Sadra, we don't have a clear presentation of this discussion. Never Ibn Sina uses these terms, or never he brings any argument for priority of existence or essence. So this question is not their question. But in Islamic philosophy, usually it is claimed that Masha'in or peripatetic philosophers like Ibn Sina and Farabi, they believe in Asalatul Wujud. Implicitly, what they think in their discussions of existence, it seems that, they even unknowingly believe in Asalatul Wujud. But explicitly, they never discuss it. This question was not,
Yeah, they
known.
don't use the terms, but obviously the meaning of Wujud and Mahiya, whatever they call them, must be there. So
Yes,
you clarified that they
Wujud and
thought
Mahiya is there. But about the priority of Wujud or Mahiya, they didn't discuss. We have Wujud and Mahiya, but it is not enough. There's 2 questions. All philosophers, Islamic philosophers, they believe that we have this distinction of Wujud and Mahiya. But before Mullah Sadra or before Mir Damad, none of them discussed about this issue explicitly. So we cannot attribute any of these 2 positions, by certainty to these philosophers. Only we can say, for example, Ibn Sina's philosophy is more, compatible with Asalatul Wujud. It's in harmony with Asalatul Wujud, for example.
it's in harmony with Asalatul Wujud.
It's more in harmony with Asalatul Wujud than in Asalatul Mahiya.
Okay.
But since they didn't discuss it, again, there are, some ambiguities here.
The second question was about his angelology. So I'm not aware what his angelology was, because I've read what Mullah Sadra said, and of course, Henry Corbin has written a lot about angelology. So was Ibn Sina's quite different to what they have presented?
No, it's not quite different. You know, when Ibn Sina and Neoplatonic philosophers, Neoplatonic philosopher talks about intellects, 10 intellects.
Mhm.
Muslim philosophers say that these intellects are in fact angels. You know, according to Islamic teaching, in Quran, for example, Quran talks about al-mudabbirat, wal-mudabbirat amra.
Mhm.
Those agents who, you know, manage the affairs of this world. So these intellects, Neoplatonic intellects, al-uqul, translated into angels in Islamic terminology.
Okay, thank you. My last question is about
Yeah, and sometimes they say, you know, the aql al-fa'al, the active intellect is Jibra'il.
Mhm. Okay. So my last question is about Ibn Sina's Burhanus Siddiqeen, because it is related to the first cause and things like that, and you go from effect to cause, and it's Burhane Limmi. Is it?
Yeah.
So can we still call it a Burhanus Siddiqeen? Because much finer ones have come later on from Mullah Sadra and Allama Tabatabai.
Yes, you know, the term Burhanus Siddiqin first came in Ibn Sina's work.
Yes.
He called his Burhan as Burhan as-Siddiqi. As you mentioned, it's improved, developed later in Islamic philosophy. So it has a historical, you know, a process. It starts from Ibn Sina and then led to Allama Tabatabai's version of this argument. So they all called Al-Burhan al-Siddiqin, but in each philosopher we have a new version, a finer, most subtle, version of this Burhan. But the initiator and pioneer is Ibn Sina, who, initiated this concept of Burhan al-Siddiqin.
Thank you very much.
Aga, my question is around the Ibn Sina's concept of there being existence and non-existence, and then existence of God or the first cause or the planetary existence having its essence and existence at the same time. Did the concept of then hudus or kudum mein kainat, does
Yes.
it originates from this line of argumentation? Was it explained by him using these concepts? And how does then he what should be the word, reconcile this with the explicit saying of Masumin, of like Imam Ali's explanation of God's properties and essence in Nahjul Balagha?
Yes, Ibn Sina.
Concept, if my question is not very.
Yeah, before Ibn Sina, we have two ideas in two different realms. According to Aristotle, this world is eternal. has no beginning. Qadim. Ibn Sina, Aristotle thinks that matter is eternal. In religions, in Abrahamic religions, in Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, and their sacred texts insist that the world is created by God. Usually, people think that these two ideas are not, in harmony. Either you have to believe in eternity of the world, or you have to believe in creation. If you say that the world is eternal, then you cannot believe in creation, and vice versa. But philosophers like Al-Farabi and Ibn Sina and Mullah Sadra, they reconcile between these two ideas. They say that the world is eternal, and at the same time it is created. So at first it seems, it is paradoxical, and that's why Ghazali reject Ibn Sina and Farabi and says that they believe in eternity of the world. Therefore, their idea is not compatible with Islamic teaching. But philosophers like Ibn Sina and other philosophers, they don't accept this dichotomy. The world is eternal in the sense that the world is not created in time. If we say the world is temporal, it means that the world is created in time. There was a time that there was no world. Then God created the world. So here, the question will be that, then the time itself must be eternal. If so, the time also may be eternal, must be eternal. So the world is created in no time. There was not time that God created the world. Time is created with the world. We don't have time before the world. Time is derived from movement. When you don't have motion, you don't have time. So since the world is created in no time, so it is eternal. But when we say it is eternal, it doesn't mean that its existence is necessary. It is wajibul wujud. No, it is mumkinul wujud. It depends on God. If it is eternal, it depends on God from eternity. For example, a human being or a tree has a shadow. We know that a shadow is effect and the tree is cause. If we don't have tree, we don't have shadow. So if we imagine that this tree is eternal, the shadow also will be eternal. But at the same time, the shadow is effect of the tree and is caused by tree and depends on tree and needs for its existence the tree. So eternity of the world does not makes the world, independent of God. It depends on God from eternity. It's effect of God. Another example is, if you watch, the sun always has light. Light come from sun. If sun is eternal, its radiation is also eternal. And at the same time, we can say, the light that we have is caused by sun, depend on sun. So we are created. Of course, each creature is temporal. We are not eternal. But the whole world in its totality, according to philosophers, is eternal, in the sense that God has ever been, active. Da'imul faith, Da'imul fazl. We cannot imagine a time that God is not active. And this is the meaning of eternity. So it is compatible with the teaching of Quran and Ma'sumin, because philosophers insist that the world depend on God, created by God, and need constantly. And God is only, independent and ghani. Ya ayyuhan nas antumul fuqara'u ila Allah wallahu ghaniyyun hamid. We are poor. So if we are eternal, from the eternity we were poor. So it doesn't decrease our need of God, it increases. If we have longer life, our need is also longer, and our dependence is longer. And this is the way that they combine between creation and eternity of the world.
I guess I'll have to keep increasing my understanding. Thank you very much for the answer. One way, I guess, to understand this is Kainat is irada of Allah. We don't have a reference in time because the time started with the Kainat. Only Allah knows that kind of when. The when question is difficult for the whole Kainat existence.
Yes, I have a question about what you mentioned about time. So you mentioned that it's a measure of change. So, but is it as just a measure of change, or is it something independent on its own? Because you have people like in some people in physics that they talk about timeless reality, where they are trying to derive the laws of physics without referring to time, because it's just a measure of change. So it does not exist as such. Time does not exist. It's just something that, because you mentioned it and you made this comment, which reminded me of what these people are trying to do. So do Ibn Sina and Al-Farabi, for example, think that time is a measure of change, but it exists? Or do they think it's just a measure of change, but it does not exist? So do they establish the existence of time or not?
Yeah, time is not an entity beside, other entities of the world.
Yeah,
for example.
Sorry, let me just finish, and then I just want to answer. So like what they give is like the analogy with the river, right? I mean, if the entire world freeze, does time continue to flow or not? So this is what so if it's like the water in the river. If you freeze everything, the water still continues to flow in the river.
Yes, it means that when we don't have movement, we don't have time.
Okay, good. So this is what Ibn Sina and Farabi say.
Yes, yeah, all Muslim philosophers.
Okay, so if reality freezes, there is no time, yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
And time is not an entity in addition to other things, you know. We have sky, we have earth, we have water, we have animal. We don't have a creature is called time.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So this is what I was trying. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, time is an abstract concept that we derive from duration, from movement.
Yeah. Okay. So it's not something that is there, even if you freeze the word, it continues to flow.
Yeah.
So this is like the position of the peripatetic, or all philosophers?
All Muslim philosophers.
All Muslim philosophers. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I guess when mentioning physics, then maybe the point they say that when we talk about what was before the Big Bang is an absurd question, because time didn't exist. The current physics calculations cannot go beyond when there was a unity of the whole universe before the Big Bang happened.
Yes, similarly, philosophers believe that immaterial realities have no time because they don't have movement. Movement is a characteristic of matter, this corporeal world. Immaterial realities don't have movement, and therefore they don't have time. And God, beyond all, does not have time. Past, present, and future for God are the same. All are present for God.
Subhanallah.
So our time is a product of material world, isn't it?
Yes.
It comes with matter. And also
it's one of the characteristics of material world.
And also we have these three concepts in Quran about Dahr and Sarmad and all those which have been discussed by the philosophers, where 1 year is equivalent to 1,000 years, and another place Quran says that it's equivalent to 50,000 years. So how do we reconcile all this together?
Yes. So it shows that time in different realms have different qualities. You know, in different realms of the world, time have different characteristics. You know, later Muslim philosophers and also Urafa, they believe in alam al-mithal, imaginal world. They believe in material world, imaginal world, and intellectual world. Alam al-tabi'a, alam al-mithal, alam al-aql. Of course, Ibn Sina does not believe in alam al-mithal. But Suhrawardi and Mullah Sadra, they following Urafa, they believe in alam al-mithal, in the imaginal world. So in imaginal world, in alam al-mithal, we have time. Alam al-mithal is isthmus, is between immaterial world and material.
Yeah, the Barzakhi realm.
It is not material, but it has some material qualities. One of them is time. So since life after death is alam al-barzakh, is belong to alam al-mithal, it has time. But its time is different from the time of material world. So that's also a realm of time, but a time which is suitable with that world. That's why, for example, Quran says, you know, our time is different from the time in.
But in what sense is it time in this world?
Excuse me?
So we said that in the phenomenal world, in the physical world, time is a measure of change, and then if we freeze the world, time is frozen. Yes. So what happens in alam in the other worlds? So because they have different realities, Are we talking
Yeah.
about change there as well, or what is
Yes.
time there? Yeah.
Yeah, in Alam al-Mithal, we have change. In Alam al-Barzakh, we have change.
Ah, okay.
But in Alam al-Aql, which is perfectly immaterial, we don't have change, therefore we don't have time.
I see. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So can I ask one more if anyone doesn't have questions?
Go ahead, please.
I was thinking of the angels, and because we have this kind of concept that the angels do come to the world and they interact with, and Quran says, وَتَمَثَّلَ لَهَا بَشَرًا سَوِيًّا. So if they are simple beings, can they only come through tamsil, or are they actually descending and coming like what we read in Inna Anzalna?
First, we should say, ilmuhu inda ahli. These are, secrets that we know. We don't know its reality. But there are some explanations for these kind of teachings. For example, one of them is that when an angel, presents or come to a prophet or for Hazrat Maryam, means that it creates its mithal. Angel does not come, but creates its mithal or image in a way which is suitable for with this world. Like, for example, what we see in dreams. When you, in your dream, when you see someone, in reality, you are not seeing the person himself. You see a mithal, an image of that person. One of the interpretation and explanation here is that prophets and sages, they encounter the mithal of the angel as a representative of that angel. Because the angel, for example, Jibreel, its essence is immaterial. It's not physical, corporeal. We use the word tamathul. فَتَمَثَّلَ لَهَا بَشَرًا سَوِيًّا. Means a mithal, an image came to her, an image of angel. Angel descend means send its image to Maryam or to any prophet. This is one explanation. In another explanation is that when prophet, for example, see the angel, this is prophet who ascends, not angel that descends. Even though the Quran uses these terms, but these are, metaphorical. So there are different explanations for this kind of supernatural and mysterious phenomena. Of course, we should not understand these things literally. That's why any philosophers or mystics, they try to give an interpretation for this kind of phenomena.
I wanted to ask a question regarding Ghazali's misconception of the eternalness of time, the eternalness of the earth and its creation. Is his misconception maybe due to his lack of understanding of the matter of time and its definitions? Is that maybe the reason for why he rejected and had to say that it didn't align with the Islamic beliefs?
Yes, you know, Ibn Sina, Al-Ghazali is a great theologian and jurist, faqih, and he was a genius, in fact, in these areas. And his books like, you know, Ihya Ulumuddin and Kimya Sa'adat, which is the Persian version of the same book, shows that he was very, you know, a profound scholars in Islamic theology, Islamic Sharia, fiqh. You know, as you know, and later a Sufi, he became a Sufi. His intellectual worldview was based on Ash'arite theology. He was an Ash'ari. He was not, in fact, a philosopher. He was a great Ash'ari theologian. And as he himself says in his autobiography, he didn't study philosophy with, you know, a proper, you know, teacher. He himself, in a short time, just had a fast review of philosophy. Then he started to criticizing it. And this kind of criticism was, you know, at that time prevalent, you know, Ibn Taymiyyah, Ibn Jawzi, Shahristani, you know, all, and many Ash'ari theologians, you know, they rejected, criticized, you know, philosophy. And Ibn Sina, Al-Ghazali was in this environment. Yes, he has some misconceptions of philosophers' ideas, as you can see in his book, Tahafutul Philosopher. For example, he says that Ibn Sina and Farabi deny knowledge of God with regard to particulars. But when you refer to Ibn Sina's work, he explicitly, clearly says God knows everything in detail. But Ibn Sina here says God knowledge is in a way that will not change. You know, our sensory perception will change because the world changes. So our knowledge of the world follows the way that the world works. But God's knowledge is stable, will not change. You know, here, you know, Ghazali misunderstood that since they say God's knowledge is stable and does not change, so it means that God does not know particulars and changeable realities. God knows changeable realities, but his knowledge will not change. The same with regard to the eternity and temporality of the world. He thought that if we talk about eternity of the world, then we must deny the creation. While, you know, philosophers solve this paradox and explain that they believe both in creation and eternity of the world, in the sense that God was active from eternity, min al-azal. If we don't say this, then it has problem. It means that there was a time that God was not active. God did not have any action. And this is impossible for a perfect being or kamil to be inactive, to be in a way that does not create, does not give his grace. And Ghazali was not alone in rejecting philosophy and philosophers. Most of Ash'arite theologians and some Shia theologians, they were against philosophy. And still we have some scholars who reject philosophy.
Will we still be covering the eternity of the world from Ibn Sina? That would be maybe in another course, and we wouldn't be covering that specifically of maybe Ibn Sina's theory on that, because I know other philosophers have that theory as well.
Yes, inshallah, we will discuss in our late discussions in some of our sessions. If there is no question, so we can end our meeting or conversation.
Thank you very much. It was very good with the voice and everything. We have questions, but we'll keep it for the next sessions, inshallah.
Inshallah. Alhamdulillah.